Today we're here to discuss the topic of what is fraud. Now, fraud is a word that's often tossed around in our society and utilized in many situations where, frankly, it really doesn't apply. Generally speaking, and in the state of New York for a civil claim, in order to establish a claim for fraud, one must allege that the party that aggrieved them, number one, made an intentional misrepresentation. Number two, that misrepresentation must be material. Number three, that misrepresentation, which was material, must have induced reliance on the part of the aggrieved party, meaning I relied on that statement to my detriment. Number four, that reliance had to have been reasonable. So in other words, the person who's been aggrieved doesn't just get their way right away. They have to show that the statement that they relied upon to their detriment was a reasonable one, or would have been reasonable for the aggrieved party to have relied upon. Then, after that, you need to show causation. In other words, that because of this statement, I've suffered damages. So you have an intentional misrepresentation of material fact that was reasonably relied upon by the aggrieved party and damages that resulted because of that reasonable reliance on the misrepresentation. Now, courts in New York have always been very skeptical of fraud claims, simply because we don't like to just add them as some sort of redundant claim all the time when two parties, for example, have a breach of contract issue where there's an actual agreement. Fraud claims generally cannot be duplicative of a claim for breach of contract. Fraud claims also have to be what's called pled with specificity in the court system, meaning that if I'm going to set forth a claim of fraud against a party to a contract, I need to provide very specific details about what that fraud is. This is considered a heightened pleading standard that one doesn't really need to adhere to when they're, for example, suing for breach of contract. So when you're dealing with these intentional misrepresentations, as an example, it's imperative that you're providing specific information, such as what was the actual claim that was made that was relied upon? When was it made? Who was it made by? At what time specifically was it made? And how or where was it made? Was this made in person? Was this made via text message? Was it sent via an email? So these specific statements are very, very important if a party is looking to succeed on a claim for fraud. And the ramifications of a claim for fraud not being pled with that requirement of specificity, dismissal of the action. So, if you believe that you've been defrauded, it's imperative that you work with a law firm that's going to be able to pull out the specific details of what the fraud was, so that way your claim can survive in court. My name is Ross Pitcoff. We run a commercial litigation and corporate-oriented law firm out of New York, New York. If you have any further questions about issues such as this, you can always contact our law firm. And if you found this video to be helpful, please like, comment, and share. Thank you.